Hi, today's good person to know is Charlotte McMurray. She's Senior Search Marketing Analyst at Silverbean. This is a technical talk about Google, but don't switch off if you're not technical. No. Carry on watching because it's really relevant to you as somebody who's going to be hiring someone to do the technical work for you so that you can understand exactly why they say that's not the right way of going about it. And I hope that you can learn something from this video, so please stay tuned. She explains what Google have been doing over the last few years and how they plan to develop it further. Charlotte says it's about authority and relevance, and that just because you have links on your site, that doesn't mean you have authority. And just because your website is search engine optimized, it doesn't mean you have relevance. Charlotte says the whole search engine process has changed. It's become more sophisticated. Google are looking more closely at what people are searching for. So now that they can attach extra data to form entities, and that it's not just about websites, it's about people too. She gives some examples of this. So if you've ever wondered why when you sign into Google it says one account, all of Google, well now you know why. This video is relevant to just about anyone who uses Google and want to understand where Google are heading. So I hope you enjoy it and thank you for watching.
There's over 200 different ranking factors that we know that Google use. There are absolutely tons of them. We want to rank sites which are relevant to the user's search query, which will answer their question and give them the answer that they're looking for. They also want to do that by ranking trusted, authoritative sites that those users are going to feel comfortable clicking through to. The problem that search engines have historically had with this is that links aren't authority. Just because you have a lot of links, you're not an authoritative site. And likewise, just because your content is optimized a certain way, just because you've got your keyword tags, you've got your title tags all done out nicely, that doesn't mean you're a relevant site necessarily either. So that's always been a problem with the relevance of search results, and it's always been a limiting factor for search engines. SEO started off as an SEO agency, but they got extremely good at building tools, they got extremely good at research, at really drilling down to the ranking factors and working out how Google works. They're a huge influencer in the SEO industry. Basically, if you want best practice, you go to SEO Moz. They're the guys that really know what they're talking about. 2013 ranking factors, and we can see something quite interesting here, which is that link metrics still take up quite a sizable chunk, about 40% of the ranking algorithm, they reckon now. We can see that on-page still take up probably about the same amount, but there's a huge section there, about 25% of this pie chart down here, which is neither links nor on-page factors. This is a huge new area of ranking factors which Google have been building over the past 8 years. Here it's brand metrics, it's user traffic query data, it's usage information, it's social metrics, and this is a whole new area for Google. You've seen obviously links and content are still a huge part of the ranking algorithm. What I really don't want you to take away from today is that you don't need to get your on-site right and you don't need to link build, because that's still absolutely not true. The first thing to understand is just a really basic process of how a search engine works, if this is something you're not familiar with. Start, as always, with a query. Somebody will type something into Google, they'll hit return, and off it goes. What will happen then is that Google will check its index server. It sends crawlers out, it records copies of virtually every page it can find on the web, and it will then check that and return all the pages that match that query. Everything that contains what the user has typed comes back to them. Apply their ranking algorithm, they will decide right sites with a high authority will rank higher, sites with better on-page content, sites which have this keyword in the header tags or in the title tag as opposed to just somewhere hidden in the body text will rank higher, and then they return them to the user. The really interesting thing that's been happening since 2005 is that Google is getting much more interested in that very first step. They're starting to really look closely at what a user types in and looking at how they can use that and understand it better to improve the quality of the rankings. If a string matches or doesn't match, then if somebody mistypes a term, they're not going to find any results. If somebody uses a synonym, they're not going to find any results. But humans don't work like that. Humans don't use strings the same way computers use strings. Humans use words. So they'll type abbreviations and they'll expect Google to understand that. They'll type a spelling mistake, they'll expect Google to correct that. And they expect a level of understanding that computers really, up until very few years ago, haven't been capable of returning to them. In addition to having a string, they can attach extra data to this string. So if you've got a word, you can say, right, actually, let's associate a list of synonyms, let's associate a list of abbreviations and common misspellings and typos, and let's group all of these words together so we understand that really they mean the same thing. When you group a collection of strings in that way and you network them together, then you're creating what's called an entity. Much more like a word. You're not just searching for whether something matches specifically what they've typed in that day, you're searching for something that matches a whole range of things which are connected to that word. So let's bring this back to how we would rank things according to authority and to relevance. These are still the main two ways that search engines want to rank things. That's not going to change. Because Google is actually already using entities and it's already storing this information and it's already collecting it. You can see it in something called the knowledge graph. I don't know if you've seen this before, but if you search for a famous place or celebrities or historical figures, what you'll see is on the right-hand side where usually you'd see your Google AdWords ads, you'll get a little box with some information, picture, a few links, a little bit of historical information. This is Google's entity information on the Taj Mahal. There's actually a second Taj Mahal entity. They understand that there are two different things that people might mean when they're searching Taj Mahal. They're probably going to mean the building, but they might mean this guy down here who is a musician of the same name. And they can start to differentiate between what people might be searching and what people might mean when they search for words like this by understanding that actually these are two different things. Search Thomas Cook, Google understands, right, that's an entity, that's a company, that's a travel company, they've got an awful lot of branches locally, so let's give some information on where the local branches are to us, let's give them a really big top organic search listing with a lot of site links, let's give them something really detailed. We know that when people are searching for Thomas Cook, there are probably tens of thousands of Thomas Cooks out there, tens of thousands of websites trying to rank for Thomas Cook, but because we understand that this is an entity with some real brand trust, people are talking about it, they're talking about it well online, these guys are giving out all the right signals, you can absolutely own the front page of Google. That's everything above the fold is about that one single company. So you don't have to worry about brand hijacking, you don't have to worry about people bidding on your brand. If you can get these brand signals right, then you really don't have to worry about brand protection in Google, because Google understands that you are the trusted brand, and that's what people are looking for when they're searching for your brand name. You get your tags right, if you put a little bit of code markup on your website, then you hook things up to your Google Plus profile, which you all have, I'm sure. When you post a blog post, you'll get your picture, you'll get a link through to your Google Plus profile, you'll get a little bit of information about you. It's not that impressive, but what it's showing is actually something much more interesting, which is that Google is now interested not only in websites, but in people. So in addition to making brands into entities, what it wants to do is make people into entities as well. So if you're a CEO of a company, you're an influential person, you're a brand ambassador, you're somebody who's posting well on behalf of a brand, Google can understand you, they can understand where you're posting, they can understand that you have connections in the right places, you're blogging on influential websites, and they can understand that rather than just your website being authoritative, you yourself have some authority.